All right, we can begin. Here we are.
Are we on the air?
We are on the air. It's just Franco Klenko today. It's a true exclusive Franco Klenko. I don't know if Artie's going to join us or not, or Nagin. They're kind of busy.
Yeah.
Scoot's sick. It's we're recording during the Arctic vortex.
Yes. And welcome back, Johnny. You've been away for a while, so I'll leave it at that. But I'm just saying that I'm glad you're back.
No, and honestly, everybody. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, it's like everybody's schedules have been all over the place, that I haven't really talked to anybody, but I'm glad, like, you're a night owl, so
yeah.
I'm glad you're back so I can chat with you.
This is true, and truly, honestly, everybody, thank you so much for the concern. It really means a lot, and I mean, it's like I said, unfortunately, it's going to be like a slow recovery, because just briefly, I had this infection on my ankle. And they got to it with, antibiotics and took care of it and had a couple surgeries to clean out the wound. But because it is a deep wound and it's a long wound, it's just going to take a while. So right now I'm not working in radio. I'm back at home doing rehab and outpatient stuff, going to the hospital, from home and everything. And it's going fine and everything's going in the right direction. But they're like, yeah, it's going to take a year to recover. And I'm like, oh. Well, do you think by the end of the year I can maybe go to like some conventions? And they're like, no. And the reason why is they're just like, they're like, well, we just want to keep it clean. And eventually I'll get a skin graft. That's still like a month away. But, they're just afraid. They're like, if you go to different environments, you might get sick and get another infection.
So basically all of your doctors prescribe to the Bill Maher version of comic conventions? Or
yeah, no kidding. Exactly. Let's get into that. Holy cow. But which sucks. I mean, and again, it's too bad. So I guess I won't be at any conventions, including C2E2. But that's okay. I mean, C2E2 maybe we'll see how the next month or so goes. I mean, we're still like 2 months away from C2E2, but it's a shame because actually I was asked to do a few panels, and that's really sucks. Both by C2E2 and even one of the big publishers was like, "Hey, if you're there." And I'm like, I can't make it this year. And, of course, Terrificon and our dear friend Mitch, really excited for the show this year and just sad as hell that I won't be there. Hopefully I'll be able to arrange some pre-Terrificon interviews like I did last year. And, I can at least cover it in that capacity and stuff. But, I'm really – my buddy Tom King is going to be at Terrificon among other people.
Well, you know what? None of that matters, Johnny, as long as you got to get you done first.
I hear you, man.
Get you done first, and then everything else takes care of itself.
Yep. So I'm, taking care of myself, eating right, and taking the meds, and doing what I need to do. So there you go. There's my health check. There's the doctor portion of the podcast.
Cool. Now let's get back to the important stuff.
Yeah, really.
What's happening in the world?
We can talk about Bill Maher to start things off. Jeez, I know. What a oof. What a oof.
Yeah, there's I read a response by Peter David today, and you know my feelings on Mr. David. I'm not a huge fan after having interacted with him personally, but I did like his response.
What did he say?
He went on describing fandom and stuff. It's online, you can read it, but he goes on to describe fans and how people gather and they spend all this money on conventions or not conventions. They gather and blah blah blah, and then it turns out what he's been talking about, and you think it's comic book fans. It turns out that he's talking about the Mets. And then he brings up the fact that Bill Maher is part owner of the Mets.
I didn't know that. That's very interesting. I had no idea he's a part owner of the Mets.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then he talks about Yankee fans and basketball and football and all this other stuff. So it was very, very cool the way he brought it around to that. And, you get in a bar and no one yells at these guys, for being losers and stuff like that, So, the same argument we've always had about stuff. So.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, man, it's so funny because a couple of friends were even like, "Are you going to pot about this?" And I'm like, not really. Just like when he first said his stuff about Stanley, it's like, whatever. He doesn't get it, and that's okay. But just don't be.
Well, he's also doing clickbait type stuff.
Yeah. Well, and also, I mean, that's the thing. It's like, fine if you don't get it, that's fine. But don't be a jerk about it. I don't like knitting, but I'm certainly not going to crap on people who knit.
I will. I'll go all out on that knit 1 purl 2 crap.
Exactly, you double stitch assholes. What's wrong with you?
Ooh,
sorry, I know rough language.
That's okay. It's a Franco Clanco. It's all right.
That's right. No, it's ridiculous. And again, he just sounds more petty. And sure, there are fans that take it to the nth degree. I'm glad David made the sports analogy because, believe me, coming from 16 years of sports talk radio, I can attest to that.
Right.
And there are people that just take it too far and go crazy. I mean, whatever. It's, but again, it's like, okay, whatever. But also, the other thing, too, is don't be a hypocrite. Like, if you really feel that way, and same with Mark Maron, by the way, too, because Mark Maron likes to dump on comic book movies and comic books, or he likes alternative comic books. He's a big Bob Fingerman fan and likes a lot of alt comics and stuff. But the superhero stuff.
What's he doing in a show? What's he doing in a show like Glow then?
Well, that's funny.
Yeah, isn't that a form of storytelling? And
sure.
Yeah.
No, that's a good point. But even further, don't do the Joker movie. And the same with Bill Maher. Don't do Iron Man 3.
Oh, yeah, he's in the Joker. He's going to be in the new Joker movie, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, FTG. FTG, man.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, don't be a hypocrite about it. There was a classic sports writer named Frank DeFord. I don't know if you remember, they had the weekly or the daily sports newspaper like USA Today. It was called The National back in the 90s. It was a blip. It was a big deal for a couple of years. And he also was a prominent Sports Illustrated writer. And he used to cover boxing and really enjoyed the sport. And then the violence got to him, and he's like, something, I can't cover it anymore. It should be banned. It's too violent of a sport. Well, then, all of a sudden, in the late 90s, he showed up a few times on HBO boxing broadcasts. And it's like, don't be a hypocrite.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like, Howard Cosell is like, I'm through with boxing. I'm not coming back to it. And he stayed away. He didn't do it anymore. I mean, he stuck to his guns. He stuck to his word. And, yeah, was throwing a lot of money to come back. But it's like,
Well, you know what the difference probably was between those two people, Johnny? Is Howard Cosell didn't need a paycheck from boxing.
Maybe. I don't know. And again, Bill Maher.
Money talks in a lot of these situations,
Well, and Bill Maher, I had no idea he was a part owner of the Mets. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Who knew?
He's a name I want to say, but I don't, because then people will learn how much I cuss and the extent of my cussing.
Yeah, well, FTG, as you said.
Yeah.
It's again, yeah. It was weird. It was funny. I was watching it live, and I'm like, here we go. But whatever. It's okay. What else is going on? Do we want to get into? It's right at the end of January as we're recording, and we didn't do our usual.
Our
death tribute.
Somber.
Yeah,
our death tribute, which I hate doing, but I feel like we must.
It's kind of become a tradition, and honestly, I don't. We're not rude about it. We do feel bad and say, oh yeah, I forgot so and so. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, it's a long year, and sometimes you forget some of the people. So I don't know what kind of list I got. It's from the CBC, the Canadian Broadcasting Channel.
Oh well, the Canadians can be trusted with everything.
So let's see, like right off the bat. Wow. All right. So, like, here's a couple, like, they have in their headline. Stephen Hawking, of course.
Right.
And Aretha Franklin.
Was she zooming him, or was she just zooming who?
You don't know. That was very sad. But, boy, national coverage with her funeral and everything. That was pretty amazing. Anthony Bourdain, of course. Very sad, very tragic. Killed himself.
Speaking of deaths of people.
Please.
I read an interesting story. I knew about Alfalfa from the Little Rascals.
What about him?
He had died. He was shot in someone's house.
Okay.
He was. I knew that he had died in a really weird way, mysterious way. From the Little Rascals, Alfalfa. Okay. Mm-hmm. And he was in Zuzu's Pedals. He was in,
yes, he's the one that's trying to dance with Donna Reed. And,
right.
Why don't you go bother someone? Oh, right, gee, I'm sorry. Hey.
Hey. So, he he was one of these guys who did some acting as an adult, but eventually he was doing dog herding, dog breeding, or something like that out in somewhere.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and he was shot in someone's house. Apparently, maybe the guy owed him money, but the father wound up shooting. The father of the household wound up shooting him, and he died. But then years later, the son came forward. It was a stepson or son. I can't remember the story fully.
Alfalfa's murderer's son?
Yeah.
Go on.
Said that, that's not the way it went down, and changed the story. But anyway, the reason that his death wasn't a bigger deal was because on the same day Cecil B. DeMille died. And got all of the attention, which is why there wasn't more, like the same thing with Michael Jackson and Farrah Fawcett. She poor lady altogether, but she died on the same day as Michael Jackson and didn't get near enough fanfare.
Oh, that's interesting. I had forgotten that. I knew that there was like a cluster of deaths around Michael Jackson's death. I believe Walter Cronkite was within days of Michael Jackson's death.
No, but Farrah Fawcett was the same day.
I had no idea. I didn't remember that. Well, there you go. Exactly. Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy. Well, back to the list of this year's or the 2018's passings. Dolores O'Riordan, who you don't know by name, but she was the lead singer of the Cranberries. Fine band.
Yeah, didn't she have like a brain something? I think.
No, she accidentally drowned in a bathtub in a London hotel after drinking excessively.
Well, that has something to do with your brain, Johnny. Come on.
There's a rock and roll death.
Yeah, that's something to do with your brain.
Of course, the evangelist Billy Graham.
Oh yeah.
Who of course was the spokesperson for Golden Grams, the fine breakfast cereal.
Yeah.
A lot of people didn't know that, but it's true.
Yeah. He struck that deal with Kellogg's at the Wellness Center.
Nelson Mandela's former wife, Winnie Mandela.
Yeah.
81.
Wow.
Had no idea. They broke up after he came out of prison.
Yeah, right? She stayed married to him all that time, and then afterwards she's like, Yeah,
I think we're done.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, how does that work, right?
Mini-Me, Vern Troyer. And young, 49. Very sad.
Drinking as well.
Yes, sadly. True.
Sadly, yeah.
And then, of course, close to our hearts, Lois Lane, Margot Kidder.
Oh, yeah.
Only 69. Such a shame.
That's right. That was this year?
Yeah.
Or this past year?
Yeah. I remember.
Really?
And also, it was really great because, unfortunately, when she died, a lot of people were printing some of those great pictures of her from the 70s, pre-Superman even. And you really forget how really beautiful she was. And again, we always make fun of Superman 4 and how brassy she got.
Right. Well, she did a lot of smoking and drinking.
Yeah. And I mean, she kind of became one of Marge Simpson's sisters. Hi, Superman. I'm ready for a date.
Yeah, she started sounding a lot like Kathleen Turner.
Yeah, poor Kathleen Turner. Good Lord. She's all messed up because she has like rheumatoid arthritis or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeesh.
My goodness.
And here's an infamous person, the father of the Jackson family, Joe Jackson.
Yeah.
He
beat him? Did he not?
Oh, I think
did he make them great? Did he not? Did. Yeah.
I saw a headline today because I guess there's a Michael Jackson documentary coming out soon that's really shocking and gets like Inside Never Neverland or whatever. Yeah. And Jermaine made a public statement to leave him alone.
All the way up inside Neverland?
Yeah, I think so, unfortunately. Yeesh.
Jermaine made a statement to leave Michael alone or to leave Jermaine alone?
Leave his legacy alone. And it's like he's dead. Let him rest, Why don't you do what you do when you did what you did to me, as he once sang back in the 80s.
Oh, I remember that song.
See? We played a lot of Jermaine Jackson songs at my adult contemporary station in the 80s, along with the aforementioned Aretha Franklin's Who's Zooming Who.
You always make fun of me for my musical tastes, Johnny. so
I'm not saying I like this song. I'm just saying I was, we played it.
No, I'm not. No, I know you don't like it. And I know that you make fun of my musical stylings, but I was listening to a song that I hadn't heard in a while,
Okay.
and it's my favorite Billy Joel song, and I didn't realize it till I heard it. You wanna guess which one? Since you know my musical styling so well.
Scenes from an Italian restaurant. Bottle of red.
That's a little racist, but I'm gonna let that one slide.
All right.
Okay, because
Don't ask me why.
no,
All right. Only the good die young.
no, these are all great songs. I love Billy Joel.
Yeah,
but
no, great music, great list discography. No, he had amazing songs. I'm sad that he kind of quit and isn't doing any new music anymore. But
Yeah.
whatever. And I mean, he's happy and he tours and plays the hits, and everyone's happy to hear him.
He's an artist in residence at Madison Square Garden. He sells out every time he plays.
Isn't that amazing? Yeah. And it's funny because I remember was it the 90s? He and Elton John were going to do a tour, and they literally canceled the tour due to lack of interest. The sales for the tickets.
Was it that, or did they did not get along, or something like that?
Oh, maybe it was that.
Yeah.
But I do remember, and it was like, wow, that's surprising.
Yeah.
And that's weird. I mean, I don't know. I just heard Billy Joel, Alec Baldwin had him on his podcast, and they replayed it over the holidays. And it was such a great conversation because he had a really interesting career and, came up in the, really started in the 60s, at the end of the 60s, and then in the 70s was, doing his albums before, The Stranger really broke.
Right.
And all that.
Yeah, because his label was going to drop him.
Yes.
Before he came out with that album. Now, a couple things. Did I ever tell you my Elton John story? I should eventually at some point.
No, but I have an Elton John story too, so please go on.
So remind me about that later. But back to Billy Joel for a second. Why does he not do new music? Because he was a prolific songwriter.
Yeah, and interesting. Remember the album?
I'm asking. Do you? I don't know. Do you know why he?
No, I'm just assuming because I remember his last album with "In the Rhythm of the Night" or whatever the hell was "Rhythm of the Night."
Yeah,
it was a little kind of like, all right, what the hell is this?
I loved it.
I imagine it was album sales, or maybe just like you said, he's so prolific. Maybe he's just written out. I don't know. And also, am I right? Didn't he have some trouble with alcoholism?
Oh yeah. He wrapped his car around a few trees.
Okay.
In and around Long Island. And
the
belts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Around 52nd Street, if you will. Hey, that was one of the things.
Yeah. You still haven't guessed my favorite song though, but
I don't. Just the Way You Are.
No.
Always a Woman to Me.
2 more guesses because you'll never guess it, but then
Probably
that's
not.
it.
Uptown Girl.
No. One more.
Tell Her About It.
Running on Ice.
I don't remember Running on Ice. Interesting.
Yeah.
That's not a hit. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
I was going to say the album that had Pressure and Allentown. It was called The Nylon Curtain.
Yeah.
That was a really interesting album, and I remember he did an article in Rolling Stone and talked about it, that he was trying to emulate the Beatles' sound. And if you listen to a lot of those songs, you can hear the Beatle influence, and it's really interesting. Certainly not on Allentown or Pressure, but there was a song called Laura that he did on there that totally sounds like a Beatles song when you hear it. And he and Phil Ramone, the producer, really that was the vibe they were going for on a lot of the songs on Nylon Curtain, and I thought that was really interesting.
Well, it's interesting because he did a thing on the Beatles channel on Sirius XM, talking about the Beatles and playing all the Beatles songs and stuff like that. He's a huge Beatles fan, but now they have Billy Joel station, so you get to hear all the stuff about the stories behind songs and all this other stuff and it's kind of cool. I like that stuff.
I bet.
I like hearing all the behind the scenes stuff about
yeah.
Just the other day I was listening and his song New York State of Mind. He wrote it on a bus. And in all total 15, 25 minutes altogether. He wrote that song beginning to end. It all just came spilling out while he was on a Greyhound.
That's cool.
On the Hudson River line. Yeah. So
that's cool. No, and that is what makes Sirius and XM distinct from other radio. And I'm glad they do that because I think that's always. I mean, obviously being Word Balloon and the stuff I do with comics and pop culture,
Yeah.
Right up my alley, sir.
Yeah.
All right, back to the death list. Former UN Secretary General.
Kofi Annan.
Yes, indeed. Nobel Peace Prize winner, Kofi Annan.
Who caught a lot of flack back in the day being the UN Secretary General.
Did he?
If I remember. Yeah, people were like all up in his case and stuff. Like I don't remember getting all political now.
Yeah.
I don't remember a lot of UN Secretary Generals. But him I distinctly remember because he was catching a lot of flack back in the day when he was Secretary General. People were calling him out for this or that or the other thing.
I was like Boutros Ghali.
That's the other one I remember, but those are the only two. Don't ask me anymore.
Yeah, because they have distinct names. Yeah, I couldn't even tell you who it is today. I bet it's I don't even know. I have no idea.
See?
There you go. Of course, Senator John McCain.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That was a big one. Real sad one for me. Playwright Neil Simon, one of the funniest men ever of the 20th century. God, and I still say The Odd Couple is the most bulletproof play ever written. Anyone can perform that material and get laughs. And I am living proof of that because I did it in high school.
Yeah.
Of course, I was Oscar.
You did Odd Couple in high school?
Yes, sir.
I did Little Me in high school.
That's awesome. Another Neil Simon play. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Wow, Johnny. We got that connection. We got that Neil Simon connection.
I'm telling you. We got to exchange Elton John stories before we're done, too.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, the bandit died, Burt Reynolds.
Yes.
Very sad.
Yes. Quiet, doggy. Quiet.
They list Khashoggi, of course, the Saudi journalist who was working for the Washington Post, and that murder is still kind of swirling in international news and everything.
Yeah.
Then, of course, Stan Lee.
Stan.
There he is. Wow. Now, I forgot they both passed away this year. Not only Bush 41, George H.W. Bush, but Barbara also died. I didn't realize that Barbara also, but she died in.
No,
doesn't it feel?
Yeah.
Oh, April.
I don't want to get political. I don't like that. I don't like talking politics on here and stuff. But couple things about that. Since you brought up both the Bushes, Mr. and Mrs. And very good friends of theirs. Brad Meltzer is very good friends.
Absolutely.
So he was quite upset. But with the political climate being the way it is nowadays, the span of a year seems a lot longer, doesn't it?
Oh God!
Because
Every
because
day.
Barbara Bush died earlier, April, maybe. Yeah, I was going to say March or April, and then 41 died, more recently. But it just feels like forever between those. And the other thing, and I said this to my wife when President Trump was first elected. You look at pictures of Obama and you look at pictures of 43W, and from beginning to end of their presidency, and I made a prediction to my wife. I'm like, this guy probably won't be caring as much as these other guys, and he won't look any different when he gets out of office.
Well, right, because he dyes his hair and he did his orange mantan and everything that he uses.
It's still I don't think he worries about things.
That's true too. Yeah, really. Clinton was like that. Clinton had much more dark hair at the start of his 8 years and everything. No, you're absolutely right. No, this usually the job ages you, but I agree. I think Donald Trump's going to be very whatever.
Yeah.
It's a weekend. Exactly. Of course, Gary Marshall's sister Penny, which was very sad. And we lost Gary recently. I think either last year or 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So that was surprising. I was very disappointed because she was always a great comedian, and I think has obviously proven herself to be an exceptional director. And I told you I remember she was making Awakenings, the movie about Oliver Sacks and
treating Robin Williams and De Niro.
Yep, treating the mentally ill. And
Well, they weren't mentally ill, but it was like they had this paralysis.
Yeah, I guess that's I was
yeah.
using shorthand, but you're right.
Yes.
Right. And while they were filming it, I forget who was interviewing them, but they were live via satellite from the hospital they were interviewing at, or doing the movie at, and it was Penny Marshall is like she meant to say, oh, or like she's like, yeah, we're at a women's hospital, but really the setting is at a mental institution, and instead she said a menstrual institution, and everybody started laughing, and immediately Robin Williams goes, yes, it's a period piece.
Man, he's quick, that one.
Absolutely. No, it was it was a shame. I was bummed. My favorite
best stand-ups. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say one of my favorite cameos. It's just a little thing that she did. Albert Brooks's movie, Looking for Comedy in the Muslim World. At the beginning of the movie, he's going in to pitch her on a movie idea, and they have her with her assistants in her office, and she's like, Albert Brooks, God, what's the last thing he did? And it was The In-Laws, the remake of The In-Laws with Michael Douglas. And it was hilarious because she said anyone who was a comedy fan was saying the same thing. She's like, who remakes a classic like The In-Laws? Yeah. What a dumb idea. And just rips the movie. And then Albert Brooks walks in. She's like, oh, Albert, nice to see you. She goes, I really enjoyed you in The In-Laws. He's like, oh, really? A lot of people didn't like it. Oh, no, it was you were wonderful. It was fantastic. Very funny.
Yeah. See? That's why it's funny.
God, this
Albert
is a short
Brooks
list.
wrote that, right?
Huh?
Albert Brooks wrote that.
Looking for Comedy in the Muslim World. He didn't.
Yeah.
Did he write the? I hope
I
he
don't know,
didn't write
did
the
he?
In-Laws remake. I certainly hope.
No, I don't think so.
I'm sure he just picked up a check. Man, that's a movie, and certainly it was on cable last year. Going in Style, the remake of that with Morgan Freeman and Alan Arkin and bloody Michael Caine. That was so bad, and you compare that to the original with George Burns and Art Carney and Lee Strasberg. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie. It's the original is so funny. It's really one of George Burns' great performances right there with the Sunshine Boys. I mean, and Art Carney is so great, and it's so cool to see those two comedy legends together and being so funny together and stuff. They go to Vegas and win a lot of money at the crap tables, and it's just like classic Art Carney, Ed Norton kind of moves and everything. He doesn't know what the hell he's doing, and George Burns is just enjoying the fact that he keeps like they're playing craps, and he just keeps hitting numbers and stuff and making money. He's like, I ain't never seen nothing like this ever. And Art Carney goes, that's good sentence structure. It's a really funny movie, and man, I'm telling you, that Going in Style remake was just so wrong, just like that In-Laws movie. And of course, produced by current Secretary of the Treasury in the Trump administration. And,
Steve Mnuchin.
I was going to say, and John Oliver lookalike, Steve Mnuchin.
Yeah.
I always like when John Oliver talks about how sexy he is. So he's like, he's hot. Come on. Let's face it. That guy is hot. Very
I miss John Oliver. I want him to come back.
Not till like
February, late
mid-February.
February,
Yeah,
right?
like February 17th. I'm like, oh man. Take it forever for him to come back. That's the best show.
Yeah.
It's funny. I don't know about you. I don't watch The Daily Show anymore. And it's no disrespect to Trevor Noah, who I do think is funny. It's just a different vibe, and I'm not big on the correspondence, and it's not as great as it was when it was Stewart and the correspondence he had. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Thank you, Larry. Oh, another demise of 2018, the death of HBO boxing, of course.
Oh, yeah, the whole boxing situation.
Yeah, after 43 years of covering boxing. My God. I mean, I remember going to houses that had HBO so I could watch boxing, and it was an event. And, I mean, God, the first fight they ever did was George Foreman beating Joe Frazier in 1973. So, yeah, 45 years, I guess, of boxing, really, because, yeah, that was the first one. And the Fracas in Caracas, as it was called.
The Fracas in Caracas.
How about that? Or no, actually, was that? No, they were in Kingstown, Jamaica. I forget which fight was the Fracas in Caracas. Hello, everyone. Sounds like a Desi Arnaz.
You look marvelous, yeah.
The Fracas in Caracas. Lucy, physiatrist. Good stuff.
That show is funny.
It is funny.
That show is funny.
Yep.
Man, holds up. After all these years.
70 years. It'll be 70 years next year. I think they're 50 or 51. I forget.
I'm surprised people aren't going back and retro shaming the show.
Oh, that's although they kind of can't because actually, the network didn't want Lucille Ball had a sitcom on radio called My Favorite Husband, where she had it was kind of another scatterbrained kind of character like Lucy was, and I forget what her husband did. He wasn't in show business, and they wanted to bring that to TV, and she said, "No, I want to do a show with my husband." And they're like, well, no one will believe that you'd be married to a Cuban band leader. She's like, but I am married to a Cuban band leader. And it's kind of true. And it was, pretty forward thinking for them to have, a Latin star, co-star in the lead and everything. And as you know, Desi Arnaz behind the camera was like a genius because he's the guy who kind of created the sitcom being shot the way that sitcoms are.
Yeah, the 3-camera shoot. Basically.
Yep.
You think about that, and you think about Lucy on the other side with producing, and we wouldn't have Star Trek if it wasn't for her.
That's exactly right. That's something that Brad Meltzer makes a point of in or Mission Impossible. She greenlit both of those shows for Desi-Lu.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
No, she was very impressive. That I Am Lucille Ball book is terrific.
Yeah, I'm in it.
Are you really? Is there a cameo of you? That's fantastic.
Yeah, if you, Chris Eliopoulos drew a picture of me on the back wall of one of the classrooms when Lucy's.
That's fantastic.
So look for my cameo picture in there.
That's excellent. I before I got sick, did an interview with Chris. It isn't out yet, but it'll be out in February on Word Balloon. And it was a great conversation. Man, how about him and Brad? With that PBS show based on their kids' books.
Yeah, right?
That's fantastic. I'm very excited for them.
I hate both of those guys and love them at the same time.
No, I'm very happy for them. That's terrific. And Brad, right before I got sick, was on C-SPAN for 3 hours on my birthday on December 2nd.
Yeah.
And that in-depth show where they have an author on for 3 hours and he takes phone calls. And, oh, my God, he was so funny. Great stories. Just great conversation. And I actually... couple episodes ago, I released. He and I talked about that on our most recent Word Balloon. Brad's a good man. So yes, I guess I got a short list, man, and we can wrap it up there as far as the deaths. We don't have to go that far,
Is that it? Is that? I'm glad.
Well, I'm sure there are more people
that died.
I'm sure there are, but yeah, we. I don't know. Again, the CBC only went that far. I don't know.
Well, maybe they were only Canadians.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think Kofi Annan was Canadian. Yeah, I don't think so.
You never know. He could have been Canadian via another country.
That's true. That's possible. So we were talking off the air, our usual debate over Star Trek Discovery and the Orville.
Oh, come on.
And I know we're 5 episodes in on the Orville.
Okay,
I've only seen the first 4.
I've watched all of them, and people will ask me why I watch them because I constantly tell them I hate the show. And the reason I watch every episode is I made a promise to you that I would watch every episode so I could tell you how much I hate it. And it's holding true. I dislike the show immensely. I really do. There was one episode that I liked. Surprisingly, and that was the one where Mercer, Seth MacFarlane, is on that planet with that.
Yes, with the Stella cartographer, and she becomes an alien. She turns out she's an alien.
Spoilers,
spy.
Yeah, spoilers, yeah. So I didn't know if you had watched that, but yes.
Oh yeah, that was great. No, that was. I think
that episode was good.
Yes,
it made me like the show a little bit, and I'm like. Oh, I'm going to have to tell Johnny I like this.
Well, that's the thing, man. No, I think you're right. I think it's literally been the best episode of the first 2 seasons. And I still have problems with it, too, in terms of their, some of their comedy choices I'm not crazy about. I didn't like the episode where the Worf character basically was...
had to go pee?
Yeah, well, that was just weird. Yeah. I mean, it was so, like...
I'm like,
they were talking about it a lot, but okay, whatever. I mean, but no, more so the other episode where he was addicted to porn.
Yeah, and there were back-to-back episodes with that guy. What's up with that?
Yeah. But again, much like Next Generation, they were smart in that they like by the second or third season, they wised up on Next Generation and are like, instead of just the crew has to solve problem X, it was like, we need to know these people more. Let's have a Worf episode. Let's have a Deanna Troi episode. Stuff like I talked about it on a couple of those podcasts I did from the hospital when I was taking questions from listeners.
Oh, did you take my question? I got to listen to that.
I can't remember what your question was, but I do remember I acknowledged your question.
I can't remember what I asked, but
I was going stir crazy. So every Sunday, because certainly on the weekends it gets quiet in the hospitals and no testing or anything like that, other than I'm bothering you every couple hours to check your blood pressure and things. Yeah.
Well, did you have that checked on the air while you were talking, or no?
No, I would hit pause and keep going. But no, I mean I think the Orville is smart and doing that where we've got like, okay, let's do an episode about the Worf guy and let's do an episode about. I'm bummed about did you hear the security woman, the tiny little security woman that was super strong?
Yeah.
She left the show.
Yeah, and she's dating Seth MacFarlane?
Yeah, as I understand it, they want to keep their personal and professional lives separate, so that's why she quit.
Oh, wow.
Which I think is interesting, and it's like, all right, whatever.
Yeah, right?
Good for her.
But I saw her on an episode, the week after I saw that show, I saw her on an episode of Magnum P.I., the new one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I almost didn't recognize her because, she has black hair on the show and the makeup and stuff like that.
Yeah.
She's a blonde.
Yes.
And I saw her, and I'm like, why does this girl look so familiar? And then it hit me. I'm like, I know who that is.
Wow, I don't know if I'd recognize her because I have seen pictures of her without her makeup and stuff, and first of all, she's lovely. My God.
Yes.
She's very beautiful. And tiny, obviously. No, it's a shame because I did think her character was interesting, and that last episode with her I thought was really interesting and took that dark turn with John Billingsley torturing her family and everything. I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah.
So
and that one was yeah. See,
I like that one.
That one was okay, but there were still things with it, like the guy trying to get the tenure track for commanders.
Right.
I don't know. It's just some of the choices they make. The comedy is just so it's forced and not funny. And
I understand. No, I understand. I like I said, I think it's well, first of all, I think Fox mismarketed it as a comedy when really it's kind of a light adventure with comedic tones to it.
But no, see, I disagree because I don't think there are comedic tones to it.
Well, they're comedic tones that maybe don't succeed, but at least they're trying. But yeah, I mean, I think ultimately they really were going for adventure. And and I think a lot of the episodes showed that, both that last year and this year. I thought the Charlize Theron episode last year was good. I thought that was a pretty good episode.
No.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, again, and we'll see. It'll be very interesting to see if it survives or not, because I don't think it's doing very well ratings wise.
Because it sucks, Johnny.
Well, whatever. But hey, I give him credit for dude, all I can tell you is it has more optimism in it than Star Trek Discovery, which is becoming its second season. Yeah. And it's just
I saw only the first episode so far of the second season, and one of the things they did do that I liked was they addressed a lot of everything that was up in the air about why is it Spock's sister? Why are we not even acknowledging Spock? What the hell is going on? Type thing, as far as what we know of Star Trek, and they addressed some of that, which
they started to.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, all right. At least now you're acknowledging it and trying to fit it into the continuity. Whereas, like, I thought last season they were just like, okay, this is just it's Star Trek, but it takes place here at the same time as Spock and Kirk, and I'm like, why are you not even addressing this? Why are you not even talking about it? I don't understand. Type thing.
Yeah, I still, again, that's going to be one of the main, puzzles of the season. Obviously, is what's wrong with Spock, and obviously we'll get into her relationship with him. I'm sorry. I think it's still forced. I don't think it's natural.
Yeah. No, I do as well. But at least they're
acknowledging it,
addressing. Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. And I mean, I like the kid who's playing him, Gregory Peck's grandson.
Is that who it is?
Yeah, that's the adult Spock and everything. No, it'll be interesting. And I love Christopher Pike. I'm a huge fan of the character. He's only in obviously the pilot as far as real canon goes, but there've been a million novels about him, and even a Marvel comic series with Pike leading the Enterprise and stuff in those years. And I think I really like that original pilot, The Cage, and of course it was the 2-part menagerie as far as the original series goes.
Too many things wrong with that, Johnny. It was too cerebral, and they had a lady first officer.
That's right.
You can't have that in the 60s, Johnny.
That's what NBC
Everyone
said.
knows that women can't pilot ships that big. Come on.
Number one. She was the original number one.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like Christopher Pike, and I like the guy who's playing Christopher Pike. He's fine. But yeah, I don't know, man. I'm still not feeling it with Discovery.
You know who I don't like on the show?
Tell me.
Michael Burnham.
Well, there you go. And guess what? She's the lead. So she solves every problem.
Yes.
And I kind of don't like that, because even again, you go to previous Star Treks and Picard didn't solve every problem. Data solved problems. Worf solved problems. Riker solved problems.
Right.
Crusher solved problems. And another example too. I just think they're trying too hard to be diverse and have the women in prominent roles in a way that Voyager, despite having strong women and problem solvers, and obviously, good Lord, Captain Janeway, B'Elanna Torres, the chief engineer, 7 of 9, all very strong women characters and would be the focus of many shows and stuff. I just feel like it's at a sacrifice, and that literally the women are the ones that have all the answers. And I guess that's, well, fine, it's about time. I guess. I don't know. It just seems like they're kind of hitting you over the head with it too much. Yeah. I kind of see your point about the women. Now that I'm looking back at it, I'm like, yeah, that kind of makes sense. But they hit you way over the head with it. Yes.
When she's like, oh, we don't leave anybody behind. I'm like,
exactly.
You're talking to Pike. You're talking to Pike.
Thank you. That is exactly my point. It's like, this is Christopher Pike, who even in that first season of Discovery, when Saru is looking up like great captains, Pike's right there at the near the top of the list and everything. And it's like, yeah, it's like, no, you don't. And she did the same thing to the Admiral in last season and stuff. Well, this is what Starfleet's about. It's like,
right.
Really? Well, gee, last time I checked, you were decommissioned and kicked out of Starfleet. So it's pretty interesting that you're telling, the military.
You done fucked up, girl.
Yeah, there you go. Say.
Ooh. Sorry. Yeah,
all right,
Franco.
But no, it's true. I mean, honestly, I don't get it. I don't, and again, I don't mean to hate. I don't want to hate. I keep rooting for Star Trek, and I want to like it more. Yeah, and again, I'll keep watching.
Please. Yeah, don't get me wrong. I love that there's new Star Trek stuff coming
100%. Absolutely.
I do. I really do. As much as I'm bashing it,
but yeah,
I love that there's new episodes, because I love Star Trek. And if I had to, if there was bamboo shoved under my fingernails and I had to admit, I like that the Orville is around, even though I hate it so much. I do, because I just think it's just too much of a ripoff and just too forced. And my secret hope is that it gets better and better. I was really, really pleased with that episode, like I said, of the Orville. So there might be some hope. You never know.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. And again, I feel the same way about Star Trek, and maybe they'll turn it around. The short treks that they did, those little 10-minute.
Yeah, I saw those. Those were pretty good.
They were pretty good. I thought my favorite one, though, was the one that had no crew members, and it was the guy that the ship picks up.
Yeah, and now
Calypso.
That's just it. Now we haven't seen him anywhere, right?
No.
Okay.
Well, no.
And I wonder if he's going to come in or something.
Well, that's the big mystery, because that was 1,000 years in the future, and it's like, what happened? We don't know.
What ship was it? Do we know? I forget.
It was Discovery. Discovery.
Oh, was it?
Oh, yeah. Wow. And that's the thing. Like, there was no crew, and she doesn't know what happened. Like, the ship doesn't know what happened to the crew. They left the ship, and it's been 1,000 years since they left the ship. No, it was a lot of mysteries behind it. Michael Chabon wrote it, who, of course, did The Adventures of Cavalier and Clay and Wonder Boys, the old Michael Douglas, Tobey Maguire movie. Great writer and a great novelist, and he's working on the John Luck Pickard TV show.
Oh, the John Luck Pickard one.
Yep, I'm excited about that. And actually,
it has
yesterday,
a name, right?
Not that I'm aware of, but it may, I don't know. Star Trek Picard. I thought
I saw something, Destiny or something like that, or
I had no idea. Oh, that's interesting.
I may be wrong. I thought I saw some advert with Pickard in there.
Interesting. I did see an article that said it's going to take place, obviously 25 years since the last movie, but also that it involves the loss of the Romulans planet that is acknowledged in the first JJ movie, and that kind of puts a political hole in the politics of Star Trek and everything. So that figures into the story, which I think is interesting, and we'll see. Yeah. We'll see how that plays out. But the other thing I read just yesterday, because it sounds like Star Trek 4 is probably not going to happen, because
I read something just today that the Quentin Tarantino version may still be going, right?
Yep, that's what I heard too, and it's smart of Paramount to kind of float that out there, because I do think there's interest, and I think that is interesting, and I don't know.
Was it you that told me that the J.J. Abrams ones weren't going to go through because they kind of lowballed Chris Pine?
And
was
Thor.
it you that said that?
Yeah, and
Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah, because Paramount's really had a lot of bad luck with a lot of their movies, with Mission Impossible aside. They've put out a lot of movies that have underperformed, and they've lost a lot of funding because of it. And they had to scale back Star Trek. And frankly, if you go back to the original series movies, Harve Bennett, the guy who produced a lot of those movies, came in after the first movie, after Star Trek the Motion Picture, and he's like, look, I can make these movies and do them a lot cheaper, because he came from television and he kind of knew how to cut corners but still do effective movies. And that's what I think is missing from both the JJ movies and also, frankly, Discovery. They put a lot of money into this stuff with effects and things like that, and it's like you forget that Star Trek's about story more than anything else, and you don't need it to compete with Star Wars or the Marvel movies as far as scope and scale and stuff like that. That you can, again, it's got to be. I don't know. It worries me that the keepers of Star Trek have forgotten that and are trying to compete on that Star Wars level. And it's like, you don't have to, and you shouldn't, because it's not. Right. That's not what Star Trek was about.
Right.
So I don't know. It's very weird. But that's. Hemsworth and Pine backed out because they're like, look, we're not taking a pay cut. See you later. And of course they don't need it because they're both legitimate movie stars.
Right.
So they don't need it. But that's interesting that the Tarantino movie is still in process.
So they should hire you and I. You could be Spock and I could be Kirk, right? We could do this.
Sure. Although Quinto apparently, hearing that, first of all, he was still on board apparently. And I think the rest of the crew was kind of still on board for doing Star Trek 4. But when they floated the Tarantino idea, they got a quote from Quito, and he's like, well, of course I'd want to be in a Quentin Tarantino movie.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. And I guess because Tarantino's talking about retiring after not the current movie. Current movie he's making is his 9th movie. He said he's only going to make 10 movies and then walk away.
Really?
That's what he's saying. I don't know.
What the hell else?
People could change. Yeah, people could change their minds. I don't know. Maybe it was a response to Hateful Eight not doing as well as it did. I don't really know. But I'm not sure. So, and as I understand it, he's got the idea for the Star Trek movie, and he's hired a scriptwriter to flesh it out and everything. I don't know, but still, I'm okay with even him coming up with a general idea, because I think he has an interesting pop culture brain. Right. And I would love to see what he would do with Star Trek. I think it'd be cool.
Yeah.
So there you go.
I don't know
either, sir.
I don't know, I'm good with anything. I'll give anything a try. I'll complain about it later, but I'll give it a try.
I respect that. I can respect that. I'll tell you, Francis, I'm kind of weakening. I hate to say it.
Oh, okay.
I'd kind of like to wrap up, and you forgive me, folks. I'm low on energy, and it's just me and Francis, and at least this is a significant chunk to put out there and give everyone a quick shout out and say, hey, thank you very much for the support while I was sick, but also in general for and I'm sorry we've been gone as long as we have. Partially my fault for being sick. But
all of you out there, if you can help support Johnny in this time of downtime. You have your Patreon, you have the League of Word Balloon listeners and stuff like that.
Thank you very much. And of course, you have your Patreon as well.
Yeah, but no, go over and support Johnny's Patreon and stuff, especially if you want more and if you want more word balloons, help him out.
You're here.
Yeah, get this stuff going.
While I'm down, I am able to pod, and you're seeing the results on Word Balloon, and certainly here with with this first attempt, and we'll try to get the rest of the boys on the next episode. But we're sorry that it's been a while.
Yeah,
we're back.
Yes.
So enjoy the Arctic vortex if you're in the Midwest.
Yeah, stay warm out there. Jeez,
stay warm. Be careful, and we'll talk to you soon. But in the meantime, I like Pink very much, Lois.
Yeah, me too, Johnny. I like Pink very much too. Yeah. All right. Bye-bye.